swinging movements, being pretty patient with the disc, and waiting for that opportunity to making that big movement forward.
Brilliant. Okay. Welcome, everybody. We are 1 point into this game. Sorry for the delay. We are at 1-0 to Wildcats. Groot have just received the disc after a pull.
And they're just making their movement out here today. That first point was shot by Liam Haverfield to Nick Whitlock. Yep. Now they're working against a junk right now, Grooters, and they're just making that slow, steady handler movements across. They're not really moving that disc forward very much.
It looks like good defense from Wildcats. Why do you think Wildcats are playing a zone today?
It really puts a big threat in the deep space, so it stops those big hucks from going up by having someone hang out in that deep space just in case anyone wants to put those big shots up, which I expect we'll be seeing during this game, considering we've got a lot of very good huckers and very tall players.
Yep. There's also quite a bit of wind today. It's coming from the direction of the camera to the far side of the field. So it's not quite an upwind, downwind, it's a bit of a crosswind today.
Now, Groot seems to be making really, really good sideways movement. What they really need to be looking for at this point is that forwards movement, and then once they get that forwards movement, that continuation afterwards. They want to get in front of those front players, and they've just done that now by moving quickly.
Oh, nice dive from Hugo Swanson. Safely dishes it back. Ooh, wow.
Bit of a foul call there. Looked like the player stepped forward and their defender was there. A bit of contact involved in that, but it will be discussed among the players.
Yeah.
In Ultimate Frisbee, because it is self-ref, they have to discuss what the resolution of the call is, so whether they agree or disagree on any type of call. So they're just having a discussion now to talk about whether they agree or disagree, and they'll have a resolution to this call, and if they agree or if they disagree, it's a slightly different resolution.
Quite a long chat today. What are the rules about the length of the chat?
There is a time limit on chat, but it's likely that these chats will be longer in this kind of game, considering the intensity and the pressure that's on the teams to win.
So we've seen some hand signals from some of the players, and they are putting their fists together. That means contested. So we have Miller Mercer with the disc, and he thinks it was a foul. Riley disagrees, and he thinks it was a clean D. But we're tapping it back in now. Here we go.
And look, a little stoppage like that has really given this zone an opportunity to reset themselves. That group team is really going to be looking for moving it around and getting past those front players who are all pretty tall on those marks.
Miller Mercer with the disc right now, one of the key handlers for this group team. We also have Josh and Bruce back handling as well. Handling is where you're mainly holding onto the disc and you're back in the backfield with the disc, attacking the zone. The people in the downfield away from the disc, those are our cutters, our downfielders.
And you can see Miller's skills with the disc as he throws it up the wind, which would make it look easy. You may not even be able to tell that there is wind, but that throw from the far away side to the camera to the side closest to the camera is much harder than the other direction. So he's making that look really easy right now. Groot are really, really being stuck by this zone. They have not been making much forward movement. That's a really, really solid zone from Wildcats.
Yeah, it's really tight. Lots of players up in front of the disc, right near the disc. We can see someone screaming, Hugo at the back. He's saying, throw to me, because he thinks he's open. But that's Wildcats' plan. They want him to think he's open.
And it's really tricky to make those shots as a handler with the huge marks on. Number 17 there.
Tyler Hogg.
He's huge, a big obstacle to throw around.
Yeah. Wildcats definitely have the height, not just on this line, but also in the game in general. They have a lot of tall players.
Gru is doing just a really good job of being patient right now. It's very easy to get frustrated when you have to take a long time to make forward movement. But Groot is really not rushing it, taking its time, working that disc.
One of the New Zealand teams in the past had a saying of 50 passes because they wanted to make 50 passes. They didn't want to rush it in. But there we go. We have Hugo Swanson scoring. Big spike. They're excited. They're hyped up. And that is 1-1 now.
And that was just great examples of patience all the way up the field. It took them a lot of passes to make it there, but there was a lot of confidence in all of those throws and catches and the players behind them.
Can we get a reminder, Caitlin, of the direction of the wind?
The wind is traveling away from the camera, so there's going to be a really big high and low side in this game, which means that teams will probably tend towards the sideline that is away from the camera, as it's a bit easier to throw in that direction.
But in other words, it's harder to throw back, which means, you know, they'll be struggling to try and get it this side. Because otherwise the defense can really clamp down and trap you down on that sideline.
I would imagine this would pretty significantly affect the styles of defense that we'll see in this game. A lot of people, when there's this kind of wind, like to try and trap it onto a sideline. So I expect we will be seeing more zony style plays. We
have Joe Puna catching the pull. Joe Puna, great player. And here we have Liam, big throw.
Immediately.
To Nick Whitlock. Whoa, we have a big bid from Tristan Mercer, but Nick Whitlock comes down with it. Great play.
It looks like Groot has been sticking with that match-style defense, and I don't know whether it's completely paying off. They've got quite a lot of people who are quite tall and speedy on Wildcats who are making it look a little bit easy.
We also have another commentator here to help us out in the commentating booth. We have Chris Barker, otherwise known as
Goose. Good to be here, Ryan. It's a great day, and this is turning out to be a really, really good match. Group desperately sort of want to get a win here. Many times that they've unfortunately come away with silver. They definitely want to change that here today, and they are putting a lot of pressure down on this team, playing a man-style defense, something that they really, really excel at. And conversely, defensively, Wildcats coming out on defense now may play that same arrowhead junk that they've done before. Speaking to Nick, the coach for Wildcats, before this match, they said that they are quite confident with that defensive style, and that they back themselves. And certainly this wind that we've been discussing is getting stronger and stronger, and that will favour that style of defence, I think, Ryan.
What do you think the wind speed's at? 15 to 25? Somewhere in there? Pretty strong.
Yeah, and definitely picking up. And it is a true high side, low side too. Which kind of fascinating really on that previous point. If we cast our mind back to it with the larger pass from Liam to from Nick, Groot were actually forcing the high side and allowing Liam to sort of push up into a position where he's able to make that pass. Let's see in the future if they make that change to push down that low side, to take that option away, because that's something that Wildcats will be looking to do, have a really strong connection there with Liam throwing to Nick Whitlock.
Nick Whitlock with the disc now. Joe Puna making a great cut up the line. Yet again, getting the disc. Really great player. And he assists to Nick Whitlock.
And that's a break. So Wildcats be very, very happy with that to get a break early. One thing that they'll be looking to try and do is to have a really good margin at half-time and really make... try to take away some of the confidence that Groot should have, because Groot have been playing fantastic this whole weekend.
What does a break mean, Goose?
A break is basically when you're on defense and you manage to get a turnover and then go on to score that point. So you get basically an advantage. You get another point on the board. Rather than just what we call trading, is where both offense lines traditionally just score points.
Yep, so now we have Wildcats coming out on defense, pulling down to Groot on offense.
Well, let's see if Wildcats run that arrowhead again. I think they'd be pretty confident. And certainly the conditions suit.
Some kind of zone. Great pull. 3/4 of the way back of the zone. We have Tyler Hogg, the massive guy on the mark. He's a big guy. It's hard to throw around him. You can see them struggling, trying to fake Tyler out, but he's not moving. He's steadfast in front of the disc.
Groot up the high side of the field now, moving toward the low side.
And we can see the consistency of Groot's handlers. Oh, we have a foul call there. But we can see the consistency. Miller's got the disc. Ryan Smith has the disc. Bruce Ng has the disc.
Calls like this, probably not unexpected in this game. We expect it to be quite a tight game, and because of that, contact may occur, and of course the teams will just discuss that and sort that through. So they're not intentionally trying to create contact, it's just the sheer competitive nature of both these teams in such a big game that creates that.
Great breakthrough from Groot. They managed to gain a lot of ground there.
No, they're doing a great job there to focus on not going backwards too far. Every time that they sort of reset and make those shorter passes, just to try to keep a better field position.
Groot really doing a good job of living with the disc, holding on to it, not throwing it away. How are they doing that, Goose? What is their attack plan against this zone?
The attack plan basically here is to just to move it around and eventually find the holes in that sort of defense. And they are popping up. Like at the moment, Nick Whitlock, I'm not too sure if he's on picture, but he is covering 2 people in the deep who are spread quite far apart, and that's creating this really good space or pocket down there on the low side of the field. So Groot really need to sort of focus on having a player in that space they can use, and that's that low side right there.
Troy Stevenson One of Groot's top players, a really tall receiver, doing a good job of catching that disc and dishing it off. I'm really liking the front three of the Wildcats Arrowhead zone. You know, we have Hamish, Riley, and Tyler. They're all such big players that they're playing really well, and they managed to get the turn.
Unfortunate from Groot. Looking pretty promising there, and it's really unfortunate error. Once again, Groot, I can't turn over again, but I can't, I don't think, Ryan, at this stage that Groot forcing the high side, allowing that really strong throwing position is a wise move. Defensive switch now to player. This is going to be a really interesting test.
Oh, Lee Yo diving for the disc, just out of reach. Showing maybe what the wind can do. It can really push the disc downwards as it's going in that direction. Looks like we have an injury call. There are a few hand signals that most Ultimate players will recognize. They might be new to you, but hands above the head indicates an injury, and we have Kaz going off. And Liam Haberfield subbing in for him. And in return, Groot have a chance to sub one player too, and we had Miller Mercer subbing for Peter Boardman.
Wildcats playing in a vertical stack.
Wow, great pressure from Groot. Force a high throw. We have two big guys under it. And a foul call. The crowd do not like this. What did you think of the call, Caitlin?
It's pretty hard to have perspective when you're not in that sort of section of the field. But you could see that all of those players are pretty big. They own a lot of vertical space. So you can imagine that avoiding contact in that kind of bid with that many players present would be quite difficult. It may be contentious, however, whether that affected whether the players could catch it or not, considering multiple parties from multiple teams in the bid. Sort of, especially to add to that, it's because you can't foul your own team and have a call for that. That's just bad management. But you can accidentally foul your team in a situation like this where multiple people are going up for the disc. So that's just been contested and taken back to that thrower again.
So contested means they agree to disagree, and they're going to send it back to the thrower so they can do it all again.
Yeah, calls in Ultimate do always favour the offensive team. So making a call when you're on defence or making a call in general, it's just good for getting it out of there and communicating what's going on. It's not really to anyone's strategic advantage for a lot of these things.
So we think that the stall is going to be coming on in very high, maybe stalling 8. Great break throw to get it out of there.
And lots of space there. We've got Nick Whitlock with that on the high side, so he should be in a good strategic advantage there. Now it looks like Wildcats is finding it pretty easy to move that disc forward, which we had Groot having difficulty with before. And they've put it up high in the air.
Oh, we have the big man Tyler to catch it and assist to Dan Aldridge.
Yeah, you could see that Tyler had all the advantage there with that height. His defenders were nowhere near that disc. So Wildcats are coming out to a pretty comfortable lead at the moment. You'd want to see Groot fighting really hard for these next few, just so that they're not too much on the back feet at the beginning of the game like this.
Both of these teams coming into the game with a clean semi-final win. Both teams winning 15-4 over their opponents. Groot beating Brightside 15-4, is that correct?
I'm not sure, unfortunately. I've been playing in the women's division. I've not noticed too much what's been going on in Opens.
And I believe Wildcats beating Hammertron 15-4.
Oh, yeah. Well, Brightside and Hammertron did just play their final game.
Third, fourth
playoff with Brightside just beating Hammertron on Universe Point.
Universe Point. They were actually down, Caitlin. They were down 12-6. Hammertron were up 12-6, and Brightside managed to get a comeback and win the game. Incredible things happening here at Ngā Puna Wai. We have Joe Panaya with the disc. What a man, Joe Panaya.
And I would be expecting this defense to be running that same arrowhead. Slightly different players, same style of defense. It's been working very effectively.
You're totally right, Caitlin. They are.
Within this arrowhead movement, probably the trickiest position is that position that number 2, Joe Panaya is in. 21, sorry, Joe Panaya is in. He's right behind that front mark. It's a really swivelly movement where you have to keep your eyes on the disc and everything. And just as I said, that's exactly where Groot has just broken that with a throw to Rory.
Lovely hammer to get over the top there. The front three, we have Eddie, Hamish, and Riley doing a really good job. Hamish, well known for his marks. He is an excellent player at getting hand blocks. He's a machine. Oh, and Eddie with the D there. Good job, Eddie.
And we'll see here, it's appearing like Groot is sticking to that match defense. This time, the force is to that low side. They really want Wildcats to have no space with the wind helping them. And
Joe Panaya, great layout catch.
Great layout catch. And Wildcats has worked it to that high side, which will be to their advantage.
Floaty inside throw. Oh, just a drop. Unluckily dropped by Jack Kitty.
A pretty good bid there. He went for it, but unfortunately just off the fingertips.
We're back to that arrowhead zone. Arrowhead because we have 3 players up the front in a bit of a triangle shape, an arrowhead shape.
And James has just popped that to Rory with that same exact hammer. Rory seems to be finding really good free space through this arrowhead, and I would expect to see Groot using him quite a lot as he's a pretty good stationary target within the zone.
Another big hammer. Liam Haberfield coming through for a D.
You can see that James Crosby is really enjoying using those hammers to go over that zone.
We can see the physicality on the marks and on the cutters. They're fighting for every inch of the field.
And it really looks like Wildcats is working it up that low side right now. Oh, that was a great catch there by Liam Haberfield.
Under pressure.
Excellent bid by Miller to attempt to get that D.
And he attempted to get that D without creating any contact. Great stuff from Miller.
It'll be interesting to see how many points in this game are scored on that specific front cone of that end zone, because with the wind the way that it is, that is the spot that is easiest to hit as a thrower, which I would expect to be marked out so much as a defender.
You don't want to be beat to the front cone.
Exactly.
Looks like we have a timeout here.
It'll be a bit of time for players to recenter themselves. Do we know which team called that timeout?
No, we can't. We can't figure that out. I missed the hand signal.
Happens.
What is your mentality, Caitlin, coming into a timeout chat after being down 5-1? What do you think your mentality would be?
It's all about adjustments if you're down. If you're playing a style that isn't benefiting you, you need to change that in order to improve your play. I would be saying right now, in my opinion, group playing match defense doesn't appear like it's working to their advantage. I think they should give it a go with some of their other style of defenses, which I'm sure that they've prepared in preparation for this tournament.
The crowd loving the donuts done by the little golf buggy, golf cart.
Yeah, we've had a lot of really cool volunteers coming out to help us out with this tournament this weekend. And a big shout out to everyone who volunteers their time to help out with Ultimate. Obviously, we love coming out here and playing, but we can't do that without a bunch of other people to organize, put up cones, fill up waters. All of that stuff is done by other people, and it's awesome to have them out here supporting. So big ups to them. And you can see one of the biggest assets to playing out here at Puna is that there's a lot of opportunities and spaces for the crowd to be there so they can see a good view of the fields. And both teams are really enjoying that. They can hear the crowd yelling for them in the stands. They can hear their supporters. Whenever there's a good play, there's a big roar of approval or disapproval, depending on what the crowd's like. And it's really nice to have all that support from your friends and fellow players out there.
We do have lovely facilities down here in Christchurch at Puna. The field's in excellent condition.
And to go with those lovely fields, the weather today is beautiful. Very warm, very sunny. And you can imagine just the joy of playing frisbee in the sunshine on clean green grass.
Can't beat Christchurch on a good day.
And it'll be interesting to see if group changes anything up after the timeout call. They're coming down on offense, so I would expect that they'll be playing similarly with their handlers living with the disc. But it will be interesting to see if they switch to defense, it may change.
Wildcats have a couple of injuries this weekend. Aaron Neal and Michael McAdam, otherwise known as Sticky, both out. Both some of New Zealand's best players. But we're back with the pull. Wildcats down on defense.
And you've got the sideline counting those throws at the moment, expecting a large amount of throws before they make it to the end zone. But Groot's actually done a really good job right away of breaking through that zone and making that forward movement.
The sideline really want to see 50 passes. They love this patient offense.
And you can see just the fingertips there for that catch. A great amount of skill there. And Groot is really looking for that forward movement. They haven't found it yet, but you can see they're looking for the pockets where they can get free and run around. And every time they get free, they're trying to capitalize on that. As much forward movement as they can do to get past those big front markers is going to benefit them the most.
Lee Yole now with the disc. Has played for Wildcats in the past. He's very experienced at playing against zones. Very good player. Big hammer. We've lots of people under it, but Troy catches, great catch, and floats it back across the field. Oh, and Lee catches that one. And we're back to 50 passes here.
That forward movement, though, that's all they need. If they do 2 more of those, they're in that end zone. So they're just slowly trying to be patient and choosing when they have that movement.
Up called. It was close to the ground, but Bruce Ing saving it.
There's a lot of temptation on the handlers right now to send something big, but they've got some big threats out there in the end zone.
There's that something big. And Hugo Swanson catching the disc.
That was a tight, very close to being D'd by Nick there, but luckily for Groot, they just got away with it. Just got away with that pass.
The crowd loves it. They're chanting for Hugo.
And now we'll get that opportunity to see if Groot has learned in that timeout what they need to be doing on defense to stop that Wildcat from holding this point.
Wildcat singular.
Wildcat singular. Yeah, so the game right now, 2-5, 5-2 to the Wildcats. So Groot will be looking to get as many breaks as they can to catch back up. And that is a beautiful pull. Looks like it's going all the way down, 3/4 into the end zone again. Great shot there. And they're doing a bit of a change-up, as predicted. They're zoning. This should change their defense overall.
Both Groot and Wildcats have quite different approaches to attacking a zone.
You can see that Wildcats are still swirling around with their handlers a little bit, doing that little bit more backwards movement than Groot was doing. But they are trying to attack forward just like Groot was doing. And we can see that people are interacting with us on the chat. So we want to say hi to everyone, and we thank you for your support while we're out here commentating for this beautiful game.
We'll get in a few shout-outs when we can.
Yeah, I'm sure at halftime we'll have plenty of time for shouting out.
Stephen Lyschmann, one of the youngest players in this game. He is still at high school, and he's been selected to play with the Wildcats Worlds team when they go to Worlds in July this year.
That's true. Wildcats do have a pretty big season this year, considering this is not the end for them with their Worlds bid coming up. I'd imagine they'll be continuing their training after this tournament. Now, this zone does appear to be doing Groot quite a lot of favours. It is slowing down Wildcats' movement. They couldn't just make one shot to the end zone, which is what they've done for quite a few other points. But just there, that was that break movement that they needed past that zone. All Groot needs is to catch up and stop the movement forward. And what an excellent throw to score. Joe Puna just floated that out so that could be a tax down. Who was that who caught that disc?
Jack Keddy caught that disc. And yeah, you're right, Joe Puna doing a lot of work for this team, this Wildcats offense. Great player. And a great guy.
The difficulty with marking Joe is that he is incredibly good at breaking his mark, which means that in that sort of situation where he has it outside of the end zone, both sides of the field are truly options, no matter where the person in front of him is, which meant he had that opportunity just to float it out. Now, despite Groot not scoring that point, I think that style of defense was much more successful for them. They really made a lot more movement. They really stopped a lot more movement, sorry. And that meant that Wildcats couldn't just run away with it right away. So the score for the game going into this point is 6-2 to the Wildcats.
Great pull there with Wildcats coming down. And they're playing that zone again.
And I'll just repeat that wind direction for you. The wind is going away from the camera. So there is a clear low side on the far side of the field, according to that camera. So it's a bit of a crosswind right now.
It's quite strong too, isn't it, Caitlin?
It's a bit gusty, so it is coming up and down. You can see that throughout the point with the discs dropping quite quickly when they're throwing in the low side direction. Groot is just living with the disc in this handler movement. They just want to find more pockets like that pocket there to Lee Yo. It was excellent.
Wow, big hammer to Troy Stevenson.
Troy seems to be an easy hammer option for this team, and it is benefiting them hugely. The more forward movement they can get right now before that zone sets up, the better for them.
Great hammer again to Troy Stevenson, getting low for that catch.
And you can just see that Troy is easily catching that hammer, and you understand why that team is looking for him for that hammer option all the time.
Great receiver. He's got the height, he's got the speed. Shout out to Ryan Smith on the field there, doing a great job. Ryan's always good at Frisbee.
Thanks for that, Ryan. And you can see that Groot has worked it all the way to the high side, and this could be to their advantage a
Big
lot.
hammer. Big D from Steven, the young gun.
That was a good option for a hammer. Unfortunately, the defenders are ready. They're prepared for that kind of shot, especially with the wind like it is. It's hard to be patient as a handler in that space, though. They worked really hard to get it there. So let's see how this defense goes for them. Hopefully they can get it back.
We have match D from Groot here.
And Wildcats, they really look like they want to send a huck up, and they're attacking that up the line space for that power position.
Liam
It's just
hucking
done.
Nick Whitlock catching. What a consistent pair. Is that 3 points now from the pair of them?
They're definitely the two that favour each other when they get the disc.
Absolutely. You know, and you can see Troy Stevenson betting, diving for the disc, but not quite coming up with it. And Liam just takes one step, throws it all the way down to Nick Whitlock.
You can definitely see the way that Wildcats really like that up the line position. So that's when you attack from sort of the handler space up in front of where the disc is. When you do this sort of movement, it does give you a bit more time with the disc without a player in front of you marking it, which means that big option is so much easier to put out in front of that player. And that's what Wildcats was really trying to do that point. You could see almost all of their cuts were that up the line shot, looking for that big option in the deep space.
They do like throwing it up high and all the way down long.
And it's a good thing that they're good at bringing it back down to the ground. And we've got Miller back on this Groot line, so I'd be expecting a similar style of offense that they played in the last point. Miller is really patient with the disc, and he's been moving it with a lot of width. It is nearly half-time with a score of 7-2, so Groot does need to score this to stop the half-time and get a few more points on the board, just to make this game a little bit more even. And they've started that movement pretty quick to move past that zone.
Yep. Wildcats loving how this zone is working for them. And it is working for them. They're getting lots of turnovers, they're getting lots of Ds.
Groot has definitely been improving at working against it. They just need to find more of that forward space.
All of the teams this weekend struggling with lower numbers due to COVID.
It's pretty hard with people isolating and players who have had COVID previously, not wanting to push themselves too far, understanding that exercise is a factor, it can be a factor in long COVID. So it's important to have players who rest and important to give yourself time on the sideline. So slightly different teams than what it would have been without COVID in the country, but alas, what can you do?
Oh, nice and floaty. Taken down by Joe Panaya. We keep saying his name, and we will continue to keep saying his name.
And that was great cover long by Miller. He really stopped that big huck straight off that turn.
Hammer over the top.
And Wildcats has worked that all the way to the high side and back down to that low side again.
Great catch from Hamish.
And it is looking like this Wildcats line. Ooh.
Oh, we have another foot block with a foul called on it. The crowd doesn't like this one either.
It is very, very tricky when you are marking someone with the disc to not touch them in that process of foot blocking or hand blocking it. So I'd imagine that Lockie feels like that disc was still in his hand when that foot went up. So we'll see what the resolution of this foul is to be.
Uncontested, so Ryan agrees, he did foul him.
And look, that's the nature of the intensity of this game. A few bumps are going to happen, but understanding when you've made a foul and messed up is really important.
Great safe catch there from Kaz. Kaz, Lockie and Hamish getting most of the touches for this offensive line at the moment.
And that's a big put.
Jack Keddy toes it in.
And he really had all the time in the world for that catch.
That's half.
There was no defenders around them. So that's it. Wildcats has taken half. They'll just be working together to get ready for that second half. So thank you all for listening to us. We'll be taking a wee break from chatting to you. But thank you for coming to watch the Opens final at Puna at New Zealand Ultimate Championships.
Both of the teams lining back up for the next point. Coming out after half, we have Groot on offense, Wildcats on defense. What do you think is going to happen in this next half, Goose?
This next half has to be huge for Groot. Look, they've just had a good opportunity to sort of take a deep breath, gather themselves, discuss what they need to do. Clearly they're down at the moment by quite a number of points, but it shouldn't really, or hopefully, doesn't really rock their confidence. They've been doing really, really well against that arrowhead zone that Wildcats have been throwing. They're getting better and better at playing against it, but it's just really that last portion when the field really tightens up close to that end zone where they're just having just a little bit of difficulty. So if they are able to sort of solve that problem in that area, I think they'll be able to get some points back on the board, and ideally what they want to do is start absolutely draining the tank of everything that they have to get back into this game and put Wildcats under pressure, because the Wildcats have made some mistakes. They just have not, Group just have not been able to capitalise that. Wildcats, however, they'll be pretty pleased, very pleased with the position that they find themselves in. A really strong lead. They'll be trying to take away some of the confidence that Group may have with this lead. Obviously, this arrowhead zone has been working really, really well. So my bet is they're probably going to stick with it, and maybe for the majority of the game. Offensively, the Wildcats, they've been playing a deep game very, very well, Ryan. And I would say that they will look to use that in the second half as well. In a case of if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yep, and we have seen Groot, in this case, break through quite well. They're moving it a bit faster this time. Maybe something that they've learned from Wildcats. Great throw across the field. And a hammer back.
Some might consider those options to be of a higher risk, but these throwers from Groot are very, very skilled. So they sort of know what's going to happen. And I actually like that option against a scenario like this. It just helps move the disc about the field just that little bit quicker in areas that they might not otherwise be able to get the disc to. And that sort of speeds things up. So it would force a change out of the Wildcats to try and stop that. And that might make this arrowhead zone less effective. What Groot need to do is just actually play probably a little bit more expansive with the distance that throw travels, just to get things, well, the field less compressed, fewer. Groot moving really well now.
Well, very close to this end zone. They're right on the line.
Still moving it around really well, but this is the part where they struggle. So hopefully that halftime chat, they can talk about what they want to do and they can get a point here. They can get some of that confidence back and once again, really put a lot of pressure on the Wildcats and see if they can't claw back some breaks and get back into this match.
Oh.
How unfortunate.
How unfortunate.
This right now, this is a big test for Groot. They really need to get a turnover here, get this just back. If Wildcats are to score here, it's really going to extend their lead.
Great throw across the field from Joe to Liam. Nick Wedlock catching the disc under and immediately turning and throwing long. Riley, a diving bid, but misses it.
Wildcats really focusing on being able to get their strong throwers out onto that high side of the field in order to have as many throwing options as possible, and it's worked really well for them. Didn't work there, but that is a really hard they are really hard options for Groot to defend right now. It's just making them work even harder. So whilst that wasn't a successful play, it's not that bad of an outcome for the Wildcats.
Are we seeing a slacking off in the Wildcats defense here as Groot managed to pass through the zone quite consistently now?
Well, I mean, what we've seen is because there's been so many defensive points from the Wildcats, the Tylers, the Hamish, the Rileys, they've had a lot of work so far in this game. So no doubt that that's starting to take a little bit of an effect on. Once again, just Groot just playing just that little bit too compressed against this defensive formation. Just finding it just a little bit tough to be able to move that disc, and it just allows that defense to sort of catch up, put a lot more pressure on.
Nice swinging from Miller to Charles, up to Michael Jessup. And all the way back across the field to Tristan. Tristan thrown to the zone. Rory Hammond with the score.
Big point for Groot there. They really, really needed that one. Let's see now if they can put a whole lot of pressure on their defense and they can get some breaks and get back into this match. It's still early. There's still a long time to go.
We've had reports that Riley left his hat on the field in the zone after that big layout he did. And that's why Groot managed to get through. You know, he didn't have his hat. Shout out to Tyler Tito Smith for that top tip. So in the preseason this year, we had 3 warm-up tournaments. We had a Hamilton tournament, a Christchurch tournament, and then a Wellington tournament. Wildcats winning all 3 of these tournaments quite handily. They beat them early in the season in Hamilton. They beat Groot early in the season in Hamilton. They managed to beat them at Chalice, and Groot didn't attend Wellington, so they had to play some other tough matchups. They went to Universe against Bandits, another really, really good team.
A small amount of bias there from the Bandits player himself.
Me?
And that was an excellent pull there by Groot. It took such a long time to come down, which gave them a great opportunity to set up this zone.
Yeah, we call this Callahan country. When Wildcats have the disc in their zone.
It does just really put a lot of pressure on those throwers, knowing that if it turns here, Groot is going to have an opportunity immediately to score. And just like that, they've just moved it out of that end zone now.
Managing to break through the middle. A great throw there from Liam. Joe Panaya with the disc. We love that guy. Isn't he good at Frisbee?
And look, Wildcats is going to be comfortable playing in a zone. They've been playing a lot of zone this game, so I imagine that when they're training against a zone a lot. And you can see how comfortable they are by the movements that they're making.
Yep, Wellington well known for its windiness, and that means that they often play zone. Zone is often played against when there's wind. Wind really helps.
Groot's actually doing a really good job right now of stopping that forward movement. There is movement going, but not very much of it is giving Wildcats any meters. But you can imagine that those front players will be getting a bit smoked there on those big swings over to the other side.
Yeah, we call that running the zone when we try and tire out the defenders by running it, throwing it all the way across the field, so they have to run all the way across the field, and then throwing it back, and they have to run all the way back. But we have Hugo.
Excellent run through D, caught by Hugo, really ensuring that Wildcats could not get that back. Oh, and unfortunate, just that little bit too much distance on that disc.
Joe Puna picking up. And we're back into that zone offense. Group with the zone. Wildcats looking noticeably more comfortable playing against the zone than Groot are.
Yeah, a lot more forward movement. You can see Lockie and Joe just looking for each other every time they see that zone set up.
Mm-hmm. Joe can really do it all, can't he? He can play against the zone. He can play in the zone. He can do anything. Right on the end zone line now. Joe and I breaking through to Stephen for the score. That's 9-3 to Wildcats.
And look, that zone is working a bit better for Groot, I would say. But they do need to be tightening up a little bit in that middle. The disc is still going through that point where 3 players are there, so they should be looking out for those low release throws that just keep popping through.
All right, we have Wellington Wildcats coming down on defense now. Groot on offense. Groot, of course, from Auckland, the premier team from Auckland.
Oh, an excellent stop there by James Crosby. There was a big bounce on that pull, making it quite difficult to catch. That pull, of course, thrown with the intention of rolling it out that back of the end zone.
Kaz with the D there. We don't think here in the commentary booth that Groot have what it takes to win this game. 9-3. It's tough. Liam with a great catch to score quickly off the turn there.
And a beautiful high release too.
Beautiful high release.
Just sitting up there for Liam, who's got those hops from all that training in the gym.
Yeah, he's an excellent personal trainer. Oni Gym. Find them online. Great services.
And it looks like another timeout has been called. The teams will just be having a little bit of a break. Groot's looking to call that timeout to really see if they can get their heads back into the game. If they keep playing the way that they're playing, it's not going to work for them. They're not going to win this game. So they're looking to readjust. And Wildcats in that much easier position. When you're winning, doing something, you don't have to change anything. You've just got to keep going. So Wildcats just trying to keep that energy up, while Groot's going to be thinking, adjusting, and playing better.
We call this timeout on my teams, stopping the rot. You want to give yourselves a little break, get your head back in the game. Sorry for the Wildcats pun there.
Oh goodness, High School Musical references. Now, if it was you on group right now, Ryan, what would you be saying in this team chat?
Well, it's tough, isn't it? 10-3 down. There's a lot they could do on offense better. You know, they're holding the disc too long. They're not being super aggressive through the middle. Groot love to be patient against the zones and swing it round. But the key thing is doing it for each other. Play for the team, you know. You've really got to want the win, want the next point, want the disc for that D or that O, and play in a way they want to remember.
Yeah, and it can be really hard out here. Last game of the day, last game of the tournament. Fatigue is a factor in play at the moment. It's going to take all of the work to really like dig in and overcome that in their playing out there today. So hopefully we see a few change-ups from Groot, with them getting a few more points, making a few more big plays out there on the field.
Absolutely. Groot have nothing to lose here. They're down. They can do what they want. They can make big plays, and they can get back in this game.
And they're all ready to start back up after this timeout call.
There's been a lot of conversation among the men's teams this tournament about spikes and whether they're appropriate in New Zealand Ultimate. Both of these teams, having played them either this weekend or at the Wellington warm-up team, they both love spikes. They love the energy it brings. And here we go with Groot on offense. It looks like they're still looking to hold the disc and be super patient with it. I'm not sure that's the way to beat this zone.
There are perks for sure for being patient, taking that right choice, but I'm looking for them to take some more over the top. I think that they've got a really good target right there in that middle.
And there they go, over the top.
And look, that over that top shot just gives them distance, distance, distance. And again, another one. There's nothing to lose but these shots right now.
Troy Stevenson trying to toe it in. Doesn't quite, but Miller Mercer jumps it in.
And look, that's what we were talking about. Risky, big plays are all going to benefit Groot right now. They haven't got anything to lose. They've just got to get more points on the board. The faster they can do that, the better Frisbee we're going to be seeing out here.
They need some more of it.
Let's see how their defense goes in order to get that back, but I imagine once they get back in their offense, they'll be keeping on playing that risky style of play. Over the head, up nice and high.
On defense here, we have Charles coming down. He is he's the Joe Panaya of Auckland. What a guy. Very good looking, very fast, very good at ultimate. Brilliant pull there from Tristan. Sent it to Joe Panaya. Here
And
we go. Let's see how this Groot defense can try and win it back. And we're floating high. Charles on Liam.
They're playing that big game as we expected them to play, but just out the back of that end zone, unfortunately for them.
Glad I shouted out Charles there.
There was a travel call on that first throw.
Yeah, so we're going back. Stoppage.
And that will have just been potentially a little bit of excitement there. That pivot not quite established. Happens to us all.
Does indeed. The crowd does not like the travel calls, though. Big boos from the stands. Great communication between the teams, signaling readiness.
And Wildcats is set up in that match defense, which is very different for them. We'll have to see whether that's as effective at stopping Groot in their game.
Wow, big fake. Groot certainly looked more comfortable. Whoa, big flying layout block from Lachlan Robertson.
That was just great timing there. Not even marking that player that he got that D on. So very fortunate to be in that spot and making that bid when he did.
Go check out his YouTube channel. He's got some great highlight reels of Aaron Neal on there and some other Ultimate videos. Wow, turnover point.
Yeah, just a little bit too far ahead of their player there, Wildcats were. It looks like a bit of a joking stoppage. One of the benefits of New Zealand Ultimate is it's quite a small community, so everyone knows each other and has played with each other. There's lots of jokes and chat that happens on the field.
Over the past 4 or 5 years, these two teams have been in the finals 4 out of 5 of those years.
Yeah, they should be very comfortable playing with each other, and hopefully...
Big floaty throw there. Wow.
An excellent recovery catch there. That backup player just looking for it.
Rory Hammond with the Mac and the score. Excellent work from Rory. Way to score that. And Peter Borman, way to collect it after the tap. That's a tricky thing to do, but he's done it successfully and they've scored. And so that's 10-5.
Groot's looking far more in the game than they were previously. Hoping for them that puts on a little bit more of a comeback train. I'd love to see a much more even game out there with a tighter score margin.
Wildcats players on the sideline saying that's nothing, they're still down 5 points. But no, here in the commentary booth, we'd love to see more breaks like that.
Yeah, that is a break. And if Groot just keeps doing that, that'll bring them back into this game, back into the even. So all they have to do is play really good defense and then easy offense.
Easy offense. Big floaty pull here from Tristan. Looks like they're coming down in match defense. Charles on Liam, it's a big matchup. Liam putting Charles on the floor.
And look, we'd expect that Liam to Nick Whitlock, which we've been seeing already in this game, but it looks like it was not to be this time.
It's Riley to Nick Whitlock. Here we go.
And an excellent grab by Nick Whitlock.
Wow. Tristan on the floor. He can't handle him.
Both players very tall to start with, and then huge hops looking for that disc. So gives that thrower like a really wide range that they can throw to.
It did. It looked like the defender may have even been ahead when the throw went up, but Nick Whitlock managing to get in a position to grab it out of the air.
And while the finals are super important, the intercom at the stadium is telling teams that they need to complete their spirit scores for the tournament. We will have a winner at the end of this game, but we will also be looking for a spirit winner. So that tournament admin is just working on those now.
Spirit, very controversial. Here in New Zealand, we often travel to the World Championships and win the Spirit Awards, but there's a lot of conversation going around on how much we focus on Spirit.
And Spirit is sort of looking at the manner we play our game in. There's a lot of difficulty in playing without a ref in order to still play a fair game. So it is important to play to the best of your ability, but also to not cheat the rules without having that ref there.
All right, we've got a call.
It is a stoppage, but I am not entirely sure what call was made there, unfortunately. Potentially a foul.
An injury call, I think. Kaz has gone off.
Excellent. A bit of a fingertip caught that disc, unfortunately. So that looks like it would be quite painful.
Riley subbing on.
And Groot is shredding this match defense right now. That movement forward is just what they've been looking for in that zone all day. And it is paying off.
Absolutely. Lee doing a lovely little spin move there to get free. I love those. And we can tell how much more comfortable Groot are against this match defense. Moving it extremely fast, giving and going.
They've got a lot more confidence in their movements, especially downfield. While their handlers look super confident against the zone, often their downfielders aren't doing a whole lot.
But they unfortunately throw it too far, and Nick Whitlock manages to catch it. Oh, and he sends it long. It's too low and powerful.
And again, that's that wind factor kicking in again. If you're throwing in that direction, the wind will push it down. So not much more we can expect from that without releasing it at a super high release point.
Nick Whitlock probably does think it was the right option, though.
It does give them a lot of yards. But it does also appear that Wildcats are losing their composure a little bit. They're playing less of a safe game.
Less of a safe game. Not quite as tight on defense.
And this is just easy movement.
Ooh.
And a huge D by Nick Whitlock. And a player coming down with it. Great recovery there.
Wow, and another dive from Riley to the zone for Peter Boardman. That looks like a score. Great stuff from Groot. Absolutely clean, clinical play there.
3 very, very difficult catches before the end zone, and then an easy one to finish it off. There was a great recovery there by Miller, catching that disc after Nick Whitlock gave that tips to it to change that direction.
Even after Superman Joe got another tip on it. We love those spikes and celebrations from Groot there, getting the team hyped up for the next point. Coming down on D, you know, when you're coming down on D, you really do want that energy. You want that fire. You want that want for the disc.
Yeah, it takes a lot of intensity to play defense, especially at this high level that we're watching today. These players are going to need to be fired up. They're going to need to be hungry for the disc.
Hungry, great word there, yes.
And they're going to be fighting like a lot out there. There's a lot of fatigue. There's a lot of minor injuries that they'll probably be playing through. So when you're playing defense, it's pure drive that gets you there.
Yeah, Groot having a couple of tough games. Great pull there. They have had a couple of tough games this tournament. Playing Bandits again. We keep hearing that name. They're really quite a good team, aren't they? But pushing them hard, making them run a lot. We've had a couple of people from Wildcats having to catch a flight, and we're going to see Lee and Joe catch a flight right now. Joe catching it over Lee.
And then he's putting it out with a lot of time on that disc.
Oh, unfortunately, Eddie cannot come round and catch that one. But yes, we've had two Wildcats players, Nick Whitlock and Dan Aldridge, having to sub off and go catch their flight. And that really does change the game. Nick Whitlock, great player. Dan Aldridge, great player.
It will change the Wildcats' style of offense because they've been really looking for Nick Whitlock in that deep space. And without him there, Group may have a lot better opportunities to play in that deep.
Big floaty throw out for Keegan here. Eddie on Keegan. Eddie doing a great job of boxing his player out, boxing Keegan out there.
And Groot looks like they're setting up a bit more of a zoney play. It's looking quite matchy right now, but they are saying set, so maybe I'm incorrect.
Yeah, it does look like they're wanting lots of players up near the disc to try and stymie some of Wildcats' excellent handler movement. Josh Broughton, Lockie Robertson, and Joe Panaya, they love that give-go.
Yeah, they do really move that disc forward in their handler weave, and that's super beneficial. And we are getting closer and closer to time cap. It's really necessary now for Groot to get this D and convert this point in order for the game to be, for them to have a chance in this game.
Absolutely. About 7 minutes left of the game of the before the soft cap goes. Soft cap meaning that we add one to the points cap, to the highest score, and we play to that. Liam Haberfield floating another one out for Eddie. Catch, nice score there.
And another big celebration there.
Another big celebration. We love those celebrations, don't we, here in Christchurch?
You can see that the teams are just really having a good time out there playing Frisbee. And they're enjoying the level of intensity that their game has got so far.
Lots of hands on knees, indicating they've had a long weekend. And we've got a timeout from Wildcats. Wildcats wanting to prepare for these last couple of points, last few points, only needing 3 to go. 3 to win. And
Groot's honestly looking like they don't even need that timeout. They're there, on the line, ready to play, as if timeout's not that important for their game right now.
Wildcats with a quiet cheer there. Not obnoxiously loud. They want to keep it calm and composed, which they've not been showing on these last couple of points.
Yeah, you could really see a bit of pressure there by the Wildcats play in the last point. Lots more mistakes than what they were making previously in the game.
Groot looking ready on the line. I'm calling Groot to score this one. And a few more.
I'm hoping for that. A closer game will make it much more interesting to watch. Plus, Groot really want to be out here fighting for this.
Absolutely. Leave it all on the field. Great big floaty pull from Liam Haberfield. He's got strong arms.
Yeah, lots of time for Wildcat to get up and set that defense. But just heading out off that offside there. So it's been bricked, taken up.
By Miller Mercer. We've got match defense from Wildcats. Miller Mercer, a notorious long thrower, and you can see it in his eyes. You can see him want to throw it long. Miller Mercer doing a lot of work. Oh, and he throws a hammer. Comes out of the hand a bit funky, but Ryan Smith manages to catch it.
Definitely a wobbly one there, but if it's caught, that counts.
Peter Boardman on the end zone line, pops it over the top. And Josh scores that one. Good job, Groot. I called it. And I was right.
Another hold for Groot. All we're looking for now is a few breaks from them.
We would love to see a few breaks. And Groot, you know, they're showing that they do want it. And Wildcats, walking back to their own line, heads down. They're looking uncomfortable, tired, pressured.
And it's honestly their match-style defense that isn't doing it for them. Groot is too comfortable playing against a match. If I were out there on that line, I'd be playing that arrowhead, as it was so effective in that first half.
Absolutely.
And we've got about a minute and a half, 2 minutes till time cap. So not very much time left of this game today.
Here we go, Tristan with the pull. Nice and deep. Josh Borden collecting. And Joe Panaya in the centre.
And Groot
Excellent throw from Joe Panaya there.
Groot looking to play a bit more zoney around the handlers, I think, with a few more switches going on.
Excellent D here from Groot. And we have a down called. Groot really thinks that one was touching the grass. You know, all it has to do is touch a single blade of grass before the controlled, stopped motion of the disc.
And that one was pretty tricky to see because the disc was caught from the higher side of the disc, so it may have hit the ground before that hand got to it, unfortunately.
All right, and Stephen agrees, or at least he's been told by his captains that it was down.
And so that's a turnover. This is what Groot needs.
This is what Groot needs. Here they go.
And they're getting that opportunity to play against that match, which they far prefer.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking comfortable so far. Charles with the disc. Excellent
A lot
player.
of pressure on that throw, though.
Lots of people around that disc. Yeah, lots of pressure. They don't want to swing it, though. And swings are exactly what they need. They need to get it out of this corner.
They don't have many swing options at the moment, but that big swing will have opened up a lot more space
Lots
for
of
them.
space. Yep, Troy and Charles managing to work it. Big scuba, nice and wobbly. James with the catch. Is that a break, Caitlin?
That's a break.
That's a break.
And that's what we're looking for in this game.
Great energy. And again, Wildcats walking back to their line with their heads down.
They'll be finding it a lot tougher without those two teammates that they've lost to their flights home. And Wildcats, they're down to 10 players now. That fatigue is really going to be kicking in. And Groot, with a little bit more, a larger roster, are looking to capitalise on that. They've got a few more fresher legs, which means that they can sub a bit more, which after a long point is just so hugely beneficial.
After a long day, Caitlin, it has been hot down here in Christchurch at Puna. 4 games yesterday and 2 games today for these two teams, or this is the second game of the day for these two teams. Means they've had a long weekend of playing and sprinting and running.
And that's soft cap there, folks. I'm not entirely sure what that means for the points, Ryan.
So we're unsure if that went during that point or afterwards, but we might be playing to either 13 points or we'll see after the end of this point. Groot putting lots of pressure on those people with the disc. We have a pet call. And again, that means that a defender was blocked by someone from running towards their man.
And those players are looking like they're happy about that little stoppage in there to catch their breath and regain a bit more of that energy.
Wow, great bid from James there on the disc. Almost gets it, but he swings it across to Riley with a diving catch. Eddie just on the line, swinging it back towards the middle, but Joe Panaya making a once-in-a-lifetime mistake there, accidentally dropping the disc. He never does that.
It's the first time.
Liam Haberfield diving. Big floaty throw for Tristan.
And there's a real height difference in who was going down under that disc, but that was a beautiful catch from Tristan.
Beautiful catch from Tristan. And big celebration from Groot. They're excited. We're excited. The crowd's excited.
So we can confirm now that the game is to 13 points.
13.
So Wildcats being on 12 currently and Groot being on 9 currently. So there's a bit of a comeback required if Groot wants to take this out, but I'm hoping that we get a few more breaks in there so we can see some more points of ultimate.
They've shown that they can do that.
They just did it right then.
Absolutely.
And they are benefiting off this shortened roster right now. And so with Wildcats coming down on the offense, you would expect that they'll be looking to be playing quite safely in this point as they only have to hold the disc. If they do not throw the disc away, then they will score. So they're looking to play safe.
Absolutely. Looking to play safe. Looking to throw to Joe Panaya. Safe hands, we call him. Safe hands Joe Panaya. Or Superman. I can't remember which. And Groot pull it out.
Bit of that pressure getting to their heads.
Could be, could be. And it looks like a bit of match defense. Oh, no, maybe something zony. Wow, and a turf on the first throw. I'm going to blame Lachlan Robertson for that. It couldn't be Joe Panaya's fault.
Or maybe just some really good pressure from Groot. They've got in their heads.
Absolutely.
They've shown that they can break this, and so they're going to keep trying to.
Yep. Groot on the end zone line. Excellent living with the disc from Groot. Big lefty backhand for Troy. Dishes it to Charles.
And that's it. That's another one. That's another break for Groot. The crowd is loving it.
Absolutely loving it. We're within 2. Groot are within 2 points of winning this game. Maybe 3 points.
Game is to 13, so Groot will have to get 3 breaks in a row to win.
But they can do it. They can absolutely do it.
They can absolutely do it. And you can see that Wildcats respects that they can.
Absolutely.
It does appear to be affecting their game.
They call the time. Wildcats call in a timeout there. You know, they want to get their heads back in and get back into this game. And we're going to hear a little bit from Goose as to what he thinks Groot can do, or Groot will do, to get back in this game, to get those couple last points to win it.
You know, what Groot's been doing over the last 4 or 5 points has been working for them. Whether this is true or not, but from looking at the Wildcats, I think, Ryan, they might be just starting to get a little bit fatigued here. They are down to only a few players. 10 from what we hear. So what they're just trying to do in this timeout is just kind of gather themselves and talk about what they need to do here. Yes, Groot need to get 3 points in a row, but that happens quite a lot.
It's just happened.
Yeah. And so Groot just need to ride really high on the confidence that they're building and just put Wildcats under as much pressure as they can and hope to kind of sap away at the confidence of the Wildcats. What a change of halves. You know, this is definitely Groot's half. They've been doing extremely well. I think probably they'd be, when they look back on this match, regardless of the result, probably a little bit disappointed in how they started in that first half, dropping so many points to the Wildcats. The Wildcats here just need to understand how they're going to do that. Are they going to play super safe and slowly work the disc up the field to score that one remaining point that they need to get? Or are they just going to go with a sort of high-risk option, maybe a deep shot, get it done, get it over and done with, and take that pressure off, get the win?
Mm-hmm. And you're right, Wildcats do only need 1 point to score. If they score this, that's the game. And Groot seems to have gone with a bit of a zone, similar to the Wildcat zone, we think.
Wildcats, I'm not sure if the camera catches it, but very sort of static in that downfield, not moving a great deal. Lachlan Robinson, Joe Puna putting in a lot of work here.
And it looks like we have a switch from Groot to match defense. Charles on Liam for the win. Liam Haberfield wins it for the Wildcats.
Well, I guess we found out. They took that big option, and what a good option. Safe pair of hands in Liam to catch that pass, Good pass by Lachlan. Fantastic. Wildcats with the win.
With the win. Congratulations, Wildcats. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
We'd like to thank Nupunawai for allowing us to host this event here. We'd also like to thank the Christchurch City Council and the broadcast team that we have here, We Are Canterbury. Thank you for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.